everybody, welcome back to Boxing for Real. I'm your host, Don Omega. This is my co-host, Iron Truth. We're doing our first ever mailbag, so let's get to it. Okay, first question from H-Town's Finest. H-Town's Finest writes, okay guys, you're wrong on Margarito. He can beat Cintron. He did beat Cintron, Hercules, who was undefeated. Okay, I guess he means both those guys were undefeated. Knocked the fuck out of Six Heads Lewis and destroyed Manuel Gomez in a round. Way better than a prime Sugar Shane Mosley did. Great show, keep it up. Thanks. To address your question, okay, Cintron and Hercules, Cuevas or whatever his name was.
Hercules Cabellos.
Cabellos, thank you.
Yeah.
Anyhow, these two, both of them were prospects, okay? Cintron was a decent prospect.
I think you're using the word a little loosely with Cabellos, so being a prospect. He wasn't
had like
even
20
that.
fights, and so against
nobody's at all.
And no, that's not a good opponent. I don't even accept that. Strike that guy off your list of good opponents for Margarito.
Definitely.
Six Heads Lewis. Six Heads Lewis, he just came off a devastating knockout loss to Mailbag in his previous fight.
Yeah.
He was already shot at that point. And how good was Six Heads Lewis before then anyhow, really?
He wasn't anything
he
great.
Wasn't great.
Yeah, he was good. Decent fighter for sure, but nothing special. I mean, okay, you can list him as a decent opponent. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
And you have Cintron, maybe a decent opponent. He was rocked by Teddy Reed 2 or 3 occasions. Teddy Reed telegraphs every punch by far.
Yeah, those are definitely his two best opponents, but what does that really say?
Exactly.
Manuel Gomez? Are you kidding me?
Come on. Mosley dominated him almost a decade ago before Margarito got to him at lightweight. Knocked him out cold, one punch, one overhand right. Knocked him out more impressively than Margarito. Okay, not as soon, obviously, but who cares? Manuel Gomez was a better fighter then.
Mosley beat him first in a long time. Let's move right along. Okay. Thank you for your question, though. No.
Definitely.
Okay. Stephen from Earth writes, hey, Boxing Cats. Who you pick in Vernon Forrest versus Ike Quartey? I'm taking Quartey split decision. That's his pick. That's Stephen from Earth. Okay, Stephen from Earth. I'm going to disagree with you slightly. I think it is a pick'em fight. I could definitely see a split decision. I could see a unanimous decision. I think Forrest, I don't see Forrest stopping Quartey, but I do see him doing enough to stay on the outside and just pick his shots and beat Quartey, beat a weathered and tattered Quartey by unanimous decision.
I'm going to go with Quartey by a late round knockout. Wouldn't be surprised if he took him decision. Mailbag did knock out Forrest. Yes, Forrest was unprepared, overconfident, obviously coming off 2 wins against Shane Mosley, who wouldn't be overconfident against a guy like Mailbag. But Quartey has more power, better speed, better accuracy than Mailbag. If Mailbag can get to Forrest, Quartey will. I believe Quartey's a naturally bigger guy. Forrest still not completely, his shoulder is still not completely 100%, as he's even admitted. Still, he's been off for 2 years before taking 2 fights before this one, finally last year in 2005. Quartey only had 3 fights after a 5-year absence, so it's a crossroads fight for sure. It is a pick'em fight, but I'm going to lean towards Quartey with a late round stoppage.
Okay, moving right along. Our next question comes from Garcia. What's your thoughts on Roy Jones getting back in the ring? Garcia writes, okay, Garcia, I'm glad to see Roy Jones back in the ring. I would hate for him to go down with a loss as his final match. I am glad to see him back, even though he's going in against this soft guy. That's what he needs to do. And people are saying this guy has a great chance of beating him. I don't see that. I've never seen this guy, of course, but I still don't see that happening. The fight's in Idaho, and I think this is just going to be the Roy Jones show. And
Roy Jones should have a dominating knockout performance. Get his first knockout in a while since 2002 against Quentin Woods, who, by the way, is a belt holder now at the light heavyweight division. Excuse me. And Jones should. He still has his speed, he still has his skills in spots, not all through the fight it doesn't look like, but that was against Antonio Tarver. Against a guy like this, he should have all of that still. After he beats this guy, hopefully he will, I think he definitely will, but after this he should try to get Glenn Johnson in a rematch, think he could beat him. He might want to go after Tarver for a fourth fight. That's a marketable fight. Tarver needs a fight like that to get himself back to the top after taking that very embarrassing loss to Bernard Hopkins. And even Bernard Hopkins is out there for Roy Jones, who Hopkins, I think he still somewhat wants to fight. Don't know how much. He says he's done, but we'll have to see. I would pick Jones against any of those guys. So
I would pick Jones against Hopkins. I think a Tarver rematch would be tricky for him. I think he could pull it out, though. And the Glenn Johnson, of course, I think he would beat Glenn Johnson. He was just having a horrible time at that point in his career.
Yeah, took him lightly.
First, he's got to get past this guy. If he loses, hang it up,
please.
But then after that, let's take this fight first and see what happens from there. Okay. Next question from Mark. How do you think Castillo should be punished for being unprofessional and unwilling to make weight? I was so pissed that his punk ass didn't make weight. Please reply, Mark.
Well, I was also equally as pissed, not at Castillo, but at Corrales for pulling out of the fight. He could have gone ahead in their second fight. He weighed in 2 pounds over Castillo anyway on the night of the fight.
This was their second fight.
Yeah, their second fight.
Obviously.
149 is what Corrales weighed. 147 Castillo weighed on the night of their second fight. Castillo still knocked him out with one punch. Castillo dominated the first fight up until the 10th round, really. Castillo clearly has the better of Corrales. Corrales should have gone ahead with the fight. He could have made money. So could Castillo. They both needed it, I'm sure. Castillo or Corrales should not be fighting at the lightweight division. We know that. Corrales admits that he dehydrates himself, which is basically a coward move to do that. You should fight people more your size. They both need to go up to 140 at the very least. Castillo was not in bad shape. He was in excellent looking shape. He was trim, just cannot make the weight. So, there's really nothing. He should have let him know beforehand that he wasn't going to be able to. I think he definitely knew weeks ahead of time. But Corrales should have gone ahead with the fight, and he claims to care about the fans and all this of, we have to make this fight happen and all of this, but when it came down to it, he pulled out. So, don't have any respect for Corrales on that.
Yeah, all I want to say, Castillo, yeah, he didn't make the weight and he was contractually obligated to. He should have had to have made the weight because he did agree to, but he didn't.
Yeah. So the titles aren't on the line.
The fight should have proceeded anyhow, and because you're robbing a lot of people, you can say, yeah, Castillo robbed these people, but no, Corrales is the one ultimately who decided not to take the fight.
Who chose not to fight,
and
yes.
That is not a fighter, a true fighter, in my definition of fighter. A true fighter would have fought anyhow. Someone that I would like would have fought anyhow.
Definitely.
And I would not be happy with anyone if they decided to not take the fight under those circumstances. And basically, Corrales in the first place should have agreed to fight. Castillo's biggest mistake was signing to make that fight again.
Yeah.
And he should have negotiated the contract at 140. Yeah, that's his mistake. And yeah, he'll be punished for it. I don't think he should be punished for it, but he will be. And
maybe a small fine would be okay. People are talking about banning him for good, banning him for a year. No, I don't think that'll happen.
And
but for
he'll
people to
move up
say
in
that,
weight. Corrals will move up in weight. Almost guaranteed he'll move up in weight.
definitely should.
And I hope Corrales gets destroyed when he does.
And he will. So
There you go. Next question. Thank you, Mark. And yes, we did reply. So anyhow, next question. What are your thoughts on the heavyweight division? Do you see anybody on the horizon as the next Tyson Ali? Thanks, Gary. Gary? No, I don't.
absolutely not.
Gary, no. No one anything like Tyson or Ali. Not.
Best guy is James Toney. Clearly the most skilled. Has beaten Holyfield, Ruiz, Rahman. All of those victories have been taken away from him besides the Holyfield fight. James Toney is the best heavyweight in the world. Hasim Rahman is the second. After that, it's, anybody can beat anybody any night, basically. You have guys that aren't consistent. Hasim Rahman, up to a couple of years ago, was not consistent himself. But after that John Ruiz fight, that kind of woke him up. And from that point on, he's been doing very well. Still no match for Toney. Toney was in the worst shape of his life. Rahman in the best shape of his. Toney still beat him. But the heavyweight division is not great by any means.
This is the truth of the heavyweight division right here. It was Lennox Lewis's division, clearly, and he retired, and this is the ruins that he left behind. Not to take anything away from him. He left on top. Way to go. Good luck to you and whatever you do afterwards. And he's doing great. I like him as a commentator. But anyhow, this is the result of Lewis retiring, and James Toney comes in. And he's the man to beat, the way I see it, in the heavyweight division. Vladimir Klitschko, his days are numbered, and it's just a matter of time before, hopefully, him and Toney step in the ring, or him and Rahman step in the ring. I pick either of these guys to crush Klitschko, even though I'd consider Klitschko probably the third best guy in the division. After these guys are gone, Rahman and Toney, what's going to be in the heavyweight division? Not a lot.
A bunch of European fighters.
Unless we get someone to come in between now and then, maybe Calvin Brock, maybe Samuel Peter can get some movement.
Yeah, and lose a little bit of weight, about 10, 15 pounds would help tremendously. He's got good speed for a guy his size.
25 pounds would be wonderful.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But he's got very good speed already, so it would be even better if he just lost 10 pounds. I mean, that would help tremendously. But anyway, heavyweight division isn't great. It's not as terrible as people make it, I don't think. But you got good fighters there. Calvin Brock's up and coming. Didn't have a great showing in his last fight against Timur Abrigimov.
Tony the Tiger Thompson is not up and coming.
Absolutely not. He got a win against an overrated guy in Gwynn. I hate to say overrated, but
that's what it turned out to be.
He's proven that he was, so he's gone. He has no chance of ever being anything. So.
And our final question is from Tim. You fools are crazy. Cotto clearly won that fight. What the hell were you watching? Anyhow, should Cotto move up to the welterweight division?
I assume he's talking about the Malignaggi Cotto fight, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to say I thought it was a close fight for sure. I had Malignaggi winning. You could swing two of those rounds Cotto's way to have it either way. I wouldn't have been upset with a draw or Cotto or Malignaggi winning. I preferred Malignaggi because it looked like he was controlling the fight better. But as far as Cotto moving up to 147, there's some guys he could beat there. I think there's some guys he would lose to there, obviously. His chin is not great. They're harder hitters up there. He might be a little stronger to carry that weight because he is kind of looking like he's draining himself at 140. Judah and Mayweather he doesn't want to mess with. Anyone else in the division, I would pick him against Margarito. He would knock him out easily. And Ricky Hatton he beat. Luis Collazo could give him a lot of problems. Might even pick Collazo to outpoint him. But it'd be a pretty good move for Cotto to move up to 147, I think. So
I'm going to say I don't know right now what Cotto should do. Cotto at 140, he definitely needs to move up.
Yeah.
But who he fights, he needs to be careful. There are a lot of guys at 147 that'll give him a lot of problems, I think. I thought Malignaggi won also. I definitely thought he won. If you look at just who did the more damage, absolutely. Cotto did the more damage. So if
he's a harder hitter too.
If that's your thoughts on who wins a fight, which I don't agree with, then yeah, Cotto won. But that's not how boxing is scored. That's not how I score. I score round by round. Who won the most rounds? And I felt Malignaggi did enough to win more rounds. And Cotto moving up to 147. I see a lot of guys giving him problems, but I'd pick him over Hatton. I'd pick him definitely over Margarito. I mean, I don't see Margarito as a problem at all. And right now, Julio, he definitely beat him.
Yeah.
That fight shouldn't even be made right now. Julio
right
needs, yeah, absolutely. Quintana would be a tough fight. Anyone like boxing like that would be a tough fight, as Malignaggi proved.
Yeah.
And but he might be able to break these guys down. Do these guys have the same chin as Malignaggi? Maybe, maybe not. We'd have to find out. And that Baltimore Gatti, come on, Cotto destroys him.
Yeah, in the same night. I mean, that's not even a fight. That's not competitive at all. It's fine if they make it, of course.
Mayweather's a no contest in judo. The only thing with that fight, that would be an interesting fight at the weight, and a great way to promote the fight. They got a perfect. I wish they would make that fight in a way. Because the perfect promotion for that fight is these two guys with supposedly horrible chins fighting each other. There you go. So, and both of them have great power. So go ahead and put that one together.
So who lands first, they could promote it like is going to win the fight, which, well, that's going to be Judah landing first. He's the faster.
First blood, first contact.
He's a faster fighter, better fighter in every way. No, not taking credit away from Cotto. He's a great fighter, but Judah is a level above him.
All the questions we had, and hope we answered them all. If not, email back again. Tell us what we didn't cover for you. And once again, we'll put up the mailbag email for you across the bottom or top, wherever. It's boxingforreal@gmail.com. boxingforreal@gmail.com. And it'll also be in the credits.